What if I told you my mom just got cheated on by my dad? And the person that my dad decides to cheat on her with turns out to be my mom's best friend of over 30 years. That's right, he has absolutely no dignity, and apparently neither does she. Well, my mom's not taking it well, but 2 weeks after they divorce, my dad is going to be marrying. That's right, it only took 2 weeks for him to pop the question. Marrying the girl that was my mom's best friend. And the problem is, they told me, if I don't come to the wedding, then my dad's going to cut me off. And I said, are y'all out of your mind? I'm not coming to celebrate your love when it ruined our family. And they're telling me I'm being over dramatic. And everyone in my family is saying the same thing. But they don't know the secrets that I know. I'm staring at my phone screen at the word bridesmaid, and it keeps morphing into something else every time I blink. Like those old magic eye posters where you have to unfocus your eyes to see the hidden image. Except the hidden image here is my entire childhood crumbling into dust. My dad called me 15 minutes ago, not to ask how I'm doing, not to apologize for the 1,000th time, not even to pretend he gives a crap about how mom's been surviving these past 12 months since their divorce. No, he called me to tell me that he and Jen, yes, that Jen, the woman I called Aunt Jen for 23 years of my life, are getting married next spring. And they want to be, tell me to be the bridesmaid, because it would be symbolic of forgiveness and moving forward as a family. A family. He actually said that word like we're all just going to shuffle the deck and deal out new cards and pretend the game never stopped. Let me paint you the full picture, right? Because I need someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not losing my mind. My parents were married for 25 years. 25, that's the silver anniversary territory. That's mortgage paid off, kids through college, starting to plan retirement territory. They met in college, had me 2 years after graduation, and built what I thought was a solid life. Sure, they fought sometimes, they chirped. Who doesn't? But I never say, I should see this nuclear bomb coming. Jen has been in our lives since before I was born. She and my mother met at their first job out of college. Some marketing firm downtown where they bonded over terrible coffee and the worst boss. She was at my birth. She was at every birthday party, every graduation, every milestone. When I was 7 and broke my arm falling off the monkey bars, she drove us to the hospital because Dad was traveling for work. When I was 16 and going through my goth phase, she was the one who convinced my mom that black lipstick was not a gateway drug to devil worship. She didn't have kids of her own, always said that, she was married to her career, with this little evil laugh that made it sound like a choice rather than circumstance. So she spoiled me. Instead, designer jeans for the birthday, concert tickets my parents would never spring for, and that weekend trip to New York for my college graduation that probably cost more than my student loan payment. Oh well, the affair came out 14 months ago. Mother found out in the most cliche way possible. See, Dad left his email open on the family computer. Yep. Not even a separate account, just right there, his regular inbox. It was an email from Jen with the subject line, last night. Can't stop thinking. Mom called me hyperventilating, literally gasping for air between words. I drove 3 hours from my apartment to their house and found her sitting on the bathroom floor, holding printed emails like evidence at a murder trial, which I guess they kind of were evidence of a murdered marriage. The emails went back 2 years. 2 years of lying, of family dinners where they sat across from each other making normal conversation, of Mom confiding in Jen about feeling distant from Dad, of Jen giving her advice about how to spice things up. I read one email where Jen described what she wanted to do to him while Mom was at her book club. Mom's book club that Jen had specifically declined to join because Wednesday nights are my self-care time. The divorce was swift and brutal. Dad did not even try to deny it, just kept saying things like, you can't help who you love, and sometimes people grow apart, as if this was some natural evolution instead of betrayal that required thousands of individual choices to lie and deceive. He moved out within a week, straight into a downtown condo that he'd apparently been renting for 3 months already. Yeah, 3 months, the premeditation of it all still makes me want to scream. Mom shattered. There's no other word for it. She went from a vibrant, funny, confident woman to somebody I barely recognize. She's lost probably 30 pounds she didn't have to lose. Her doctor prescribed antidepressants that she takes sporadically because she forgets, or maybe because she doesn't care enough to remember. I've been doing her grocery shopping because the last time she went herself, she had a panic attack in the cereal aisle. The same aisle where she and Jen used to joke about their shared addiction to Lucky Charms. I spent last Thanksgiving with her, just the two of us, eating Chinese takeout because she could not bear to cook the traditional meal. She kept apologizing like somehow the absence of turkey was the real tragedy here. I held her while she cried into her sweet and sour pork, and I've never felt rage like that before. I mean, it was bad. Pure clean rage that made my teeth ache. And now they want me to stand up there in some pastel monstrosity of a dress and bear witness to their love. Dad actually used the phrase, bearing witness. Like this is some kind of sacred ceremony instead of a celebration built on the bones of my mother's trust. He said I could pick the style of dress as long as it was in their color palette of sage, dusty rose, or champagne. The audacity of choosing a colored name after celebration. When I told him I wouldn't do it, wouldn't even attend, he got quiet and then he said, "You're holding on to hate, sweetheart. That is not healthy." I said, "No, Dad, I'm holding on to boundaries." He said, "Your mother has poisoned you against us," and I laughed. Mom hasn't said a single bad word about either of you. She's too broken to be vindictive, but I have eyes. I have a memory. I remember every lie you told, every time you said that you were working late, and every time Jen came over for dinner and hugged Mom, knowing what she had done with you the night before. He tried to play the father card, then the "I'm still your father" that hasn't changed. "You're right," I told him. "You're still the man who taught me about integrity while having none. You're still the man who walked me down the aisle at my college graduation and then went home to plan your affair. You're still my father. That's exactly the problem." Yep. The family is completely divided now. It's like watching a civil war in real time through group text and Facebook post, and Dad's sister thinks that I'm being childish and need to rise above. Mom's sister has offered to slash Jen's tires, which I've politely declined because I don't need assault charges on top of everything else. My cousins are split down the middle. The younger one thinks that I should cut them off entirely, and the older one just keeps preaching about forgiveness and being the big person. I'm so tired of being told to be the big person. Why is it always on the person who is hurt to be bigger? Why isn't anyone telling my dad to be the big person by understanding why his daughter can't celebrate his relationship with the woman who destroyed her mom? Why isn't Jen being asked to be the big person by stepping back and saying, "You know what? Maybe asking his daughter to be in our wedding party is a little too much." So, Mom found out about the wedding from a mutual friend who saw it on Facebook. Dad had not even told her directly. She called me trying to sound casual, like she was just checking in, but I could hear it in her voice, that hollow sound that's becoming her default tone. She asked if I was going, and when I said no, she just said, "You should do what feels right for you." But then she starts crying, not dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears that somehow felt worse. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry you're in this position." She's apologizing to me. The woman who was betrayed by her husband and best friend is apologizing to me for the awkwardness of it all. Like she's somehow responsible for the mess they created. Yeah, I've been going to therapy. I know people keep telling me that. Trying to work through this, and my therapist keeps asking me what I need to feel at peace with this situation. But how do you find peace with something that's fundamentally wrong? It's like asking someone to find peace with a broken bone that's been set incorrectly. Sometimes the answer is not acceptance, it's acknowledging that something is broken and choosing not to pretend otherwise. They've set the date for May. May used to be my favorite month. Mom and I would always plant flowers together in May, getting our hands dirty and planning what the garden would look like in full bloom. Jen would often come over to help, bringing iced tea and wearing these ridiculous gardening gloves with ladybugs on them that she said brought good luck. I wonder if she was already sleeping with him then. Those May afternoons, if she watched my mother kneel in the dirt planting roots while she was pulling them up in secret, if the iced tea tasted different knowing what she was doing, if the ladybug gloves were lucky for her at least. I just want to disappear, to move somewhere where nobody knows the story, where I don't have to be the daughter of the man who cheated with the family friend, where I'm not getting messages asking me to consider all perspectives or think about the future relationship with your father. But I can't leave Mom, not now. Not when she apologizes for crying too loudly at night, as if grief should be convenient. Not when she still sets 3 plates at dinner, sometimes before catching herself. And not when I'm the only one who knows that she's been sleeping in the guest room because their old bedroom still smells like cologne. So, I'm not going to the wedding. Oh no, I'm not putting on a pastel dress and smiling for photos that'll be posted on social media with captions about blessed unions and second chances. I'm not giving them the satisfaction of my presence as some kind of absolution for their choices. Dad can call me hateful, the family can call me stubborn, Jen can post all their inspirational quotes about moving forward and choosing love that she wants. I'll be with Mom, probably watching old movies and pretending the wedding isn't happening, pretending that May is just another month, pretending that some betrayals don't change anything. Is that holding on to hate? Maybe. Or maybe it's just holding on to the truth when everyone else seems determined to rewrite it. Whatever, I'll update in a few weeks. Update number 1, posted 3 months later. So, the wedding is in 2 weeks and things have somehow gotten worse and more complicated. The save the date cards went out right after my original post. Yes, they move fast, and seeing it in print their names in elaborate calligraphy, the date that's now burnt into my brain, the venue that I recognize as the garden Jen always said was, quote, the most romantic place in the state, made everything feel in a way that the phone call hadn't. See, Mom saw it too. One of her former coworkers, not knowing the situation, posted on Facebook with a comment about true love finding a way. Mom doesn't use social media much anymore. Can you blame her? But her sister sent her the screenshot. I was there when she opened up. She stared at it for maybe 30 seconds and then very calmly walked to the bathroom and threw up. The venue is particularly cruel. It's this botanical garden where Mom and Dad actually renewed their vows on their 20th anniversary. 5 years ago. Jen was there, of course. She read a poem about friendship and love during the ceremony, and I just remember thinking it was beautiful at the time. Now, I wonder if they were already messing around then. If the poem was some kind of inside joke, and if they went back to that garden together later and laughed about it. I've been doing some detective work, and the timeline is making me sick. Remember those emails that went back 2 years? Well, I've been going through old photos, old social media posts, old everything, and things are not adding up. Or rather, they're adding up to something much worse than what we know. There's a photo from 3 years ago, a full year before the email started, of a company retreat. Dad went to it, and he's in the background of someone else's photo at the restaurant, and Jen is next to him. She wasn't supposed to be on that trip. She doesn't even work at his company. And when I asked Mom about it, she said Dad told her that he ran into Jen coincidentally, that she was there for a different conference. There are receipts I found in an old tax document, hotel charges from 4 years ago that Mom thought were a client thing. The amounts don't match up from what you would spend on a client. They match for what you would spend on a weekend getaway for 2. 5 years ago, when Mom had to go take care of her mother after hip surgery and was gone for 3 weeks, Jen volunteered to check on Dad and make sure he was eating real meals and not just living on frozen pizza. Mom was so grateful, she actually sent Jen flowers as a thank you when she got back. The more I dig, the more I realize this was not a 2-year affair. This was a 5-year affair, maybe longer. Maybe it never stopped. Maybe their whole friendship, this whole structure of my childhood, was built on a foundation of betrayal so deep we can't even see the bottom. But here's the thing that's really messing with my head. I found something else. I was helping Mom clean out the attic, right? She's selling the house, can't afford it on her own, and doesn't want to live with the memories anyways. I found a box of old documents, birth certificates, social security cards, passport applications, the kind of thing. And there was a hospital bracelet in a small envelope. It was from the hospital where I was born, but the dates were wrong. It was from 3 days before my official birthday, and when I asked Mom about it, she got this look. Not sad, not angry, just reassigned, like she's been waiting for this conversation for 23 years. "I need to tell you something," she said, and then she told me a story that made everything feel like a preview. Mom had a miscarriage. About a year after I was born, she was devastated, fell into deep depression, and Dad was traveling constantly for work then, trying to make a partner at his firm. Jen stepped in and she basically moved in for a month and took care of me while Mom recovered. She was the one who got Mom into therapy and who held her hand at the follow-up appointments and who made sure she took her medication. "She saved me. I thought she saved me," Mom said. But here's what Mom didn't know until the divorce proceedings. When the lawyer was going through financial records, Dad had a vasectomy. 2 years after I was born, never told Mom. She found out when the insurance records came up during asset division 2 years after I was born, which means the miscarriage Mom had, the baby she lost in grief, Dad knew it wasn't possible. He knew, and he let her go through the agony anyways. When Mom confronted him during the divorce, he admitted to it, said that he didn't want more children but didn't want to fight about it, so he just did it, secretly. And when Mom miscarried what was clearly not his baby, because it couldn't have been, he let her think it was their loss, their tragedy. Mom doesn't know whose it was. She swears she never cheated, and I believe her. I've seen what betrayal has done to her, and she's not capable of inflicting that on someone else. The only explanation is that the dates were wrong, that she was already pregnant when Dad had the vasectomy, that the timing was just enough that nobody questioned it. But Jen knew. Jen, who was there for all the appointments, who saw all the paperwork, who held Mom while she sobbed about losing their baby. Jen knew the whole time that something did not add up. And she said nothing. For 20 years, she said nothing. This is the level of deception that we're actually dealing with. This is the web of lies that my children were wrapped in, and now they want me to put on a sage green dress and celebrate their union, huh? The wedding planning has been aggressively in public. Jen posts about it constantly, dress shopping photos, cake tasting videos, venue decoration plans. It's like she's overcompensating, trying to legitimize something that started in shadows. Every post gets hundreds of likes and comments about how brave they are for following their hearts and how beautiful it is when true love wins. Yeah, true love. As if love requires destroying other people to exist, as if love is an excuse for cruelty. Dad's been texting me, not calling anymore. I think he knows that I won't answer. The texts start reasonable, like just want to know you're loved, thinking of you today, you know, that kind of thing, but they escalate. Your mother needs to move on too. This anger isn't healthy. You're going to regret missing this. The last one made me laugh. Regrets? I regret a lot of things. I regret not seeing the signs earlier. I regret every birthday card I gave Jen when I called her my bonus mom. And obviously I regret the speech I gave at my parents' 20th anniversary party about how their love was my model for relationships. But I will never, ever regret refusing to validate their relationship with my presence. The family pressure has intensified. I'm getting calls from relatives I haven't spoken to in literally years. Everybody has an opinion. Everyone just thinks they know what's best, and my dad's mom, who I used to be close with, sent me a letter, an actual letter, about how forgiveness is divine and holding grudges will eat me alive. She's included a check for $500 for a dress. As if this is about money. But Mom's getting it worse. People who took her side initially are starting to waffle, saying things like it's been over a year, maybe it's time to move forward, as if grief has an expiration date. As if betrayal becomes acceptable after a certain number of calendar pages. She's trying so hard to be strong, she started a new job part-time. Nothing like her old career, but something to get her out of the house. She joined a support group for divorced women, though she says she feels like fraud there, because at least their husbands had the decency to leave them for strangers. She's even been on one date, set up by a friend, though she spent the whole time apologizing for being bad company and came home early. Ugh. I went wedding dress shopping with her last week. Not for the wedding, oh gosh no, for my cousin's wedding in the fall. Mom needed something to wear and could not face doing it alone. We were in the department store looking at appropriate dresses for the mother of the cousin of the bride. Is there a more depressing category? When we ran into them. It was Dad and Jen, at the mall shopping together like a normal couple. They saw us before we could escape. And the moment of recognition, the way everyone froze, the way the ambient mom music just suddenly seemed deafening. It was like a scene from a horror movie while you realized the killer is in the house. Jin spoke first. Of course she did. She always has been the ones to smooth things over and to manage the awkwardness. "Helen," she said to my mom, like they were old friends who lost touch, like this was a pleasant surprise. Mom didn't say anything. She just stood there holding a navy dress that was perfectly appropriate for a cousin's wedding, looking at the woman who destroyed her life. I watched Mom shrink, literally watched her shoulders curve inward like she was trying to disappear. "We should go," I said, taking Mom's arm, but Dad stepped forward and said, "Don't make a scene." As if we were the ones making things uncomfortable. And that's when I lost it. Not dramatically, not with yelling or tears. I just looked at him and said, very clear. "The only scene here is the one where you pretend this is normal." Jin touched his arm, possessive, warning, and they walked away. But not before she said, "I hope you change your mind about the wedding. It would mean so much." Mom was shaking in the car afterward, not crying, just shaking. "She's wearing my perfume. The one I wore for 20 years. She's wearing my perfume." The wedding is in 2 weeks, and the relatives are placing bets on whether I'll cave and show up. Dad's latest text says they're holding my spot for the ceremony, just in case. Jin posted a photo of the bridesmaid dress with a caption about hoping for a full party. I'm not going. Mom and I have plans that day. We're going to drive to the coast to a little town where nobody knows us, where we can walk on the beach and eat too much seafood and pretend the world isn't celebrating the thing that broke us. It's not much of a rebellion, but it's ours. But let me know what you guys would have done. Would you have gone to the wedding since it's your father, or would you have said, "No way"? Let me know.